Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something millions of people quietly carry in the background of their lives. The feeling of working hard, trying to be responsible, and still never feeling fully secure financially. You know that feeling where life looks stable on paper, but internally you still feel tense? You pay your bills. You go to work. You try to save. You avoid reckless decisions. And yet somehow, financial peace still feels distant, not because you are failing completely, but because the pressure never fully disappears. For a lot of people, that pressure becomes so normal that they stop questioning it. They assume adulthood is supposed to feel like permanent low-level stress, but I do not think that is true. I think many people were simply taught how to survive financially, not how to become free, and that difference changes everything. A strange thing happens when people enter adult life. At first, most financial stress feels temporary. You assume things will improve naturally with time. Maybe once you get a better job. Maybe once your salary increases. Maybe once life becomes more stable. But then years pass. Your income rises a little. Your responsibilities rise even faster. Rent increases. Food costs more. Family pressure grows. Unexpected expenses appear constantly, and suddenly you realize something uncomfortable. You are no longer building freedom, you are maintaining survival. That is the middle-class trap most people misunderstand. It is not necessarily poverty. It is dependence. Dependence on a paycheck that cannot stop. Dependence on routines that drain energy. Dependence on a lifestyle that quietly became too expensive to escape. And the difficult part is that this trap often looks normal from the outside. Someone can have a decent apartment, reliable income, yearly vacations, and still secretly feel one emergency away from stress. That emotional contradiction is exhausting. Life appears stable externally, while feeling fragile internally. I think one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck financially is because modern life constantly teaches us to confuse comfort with freedom. Comfort feels good immediately. Freedom protects your future. But modern economies are extremely good at selling immediate comfort. Monthly payments make expensive things feel manageable. Food delivery makes stressful evenings easier. Subscriptions feel harmless individually. Lifestyle upgrades feel emotionally deserved after years of hard work. And honestly, many of those comforts are understandable. This is not about guilt. The problem is that comfort slowly becomes dependency, when every improvement increases the amount of money required to maintain normal life. That is why many people feel confused after earning more money. They expected peace of mind. Instead, they received larger obligations. A better salary becomes a larger apartment. A larger apartment becomes higher monthly pressure. Higher pressure creates more dependence on work. And eventually someone earning far more than they used to still feels financially trapped, because freedom is not only about income, it is about margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what your life demands from you. When someone has no margin, every unexpected expense feels emotionally personal. A medical bill, car repairs, job uncertainty, family emergencies. Everything suddenly feels heavy. But when someone slowly builds margin, their entire nervous system changes. Stress decreases. Decision-making becomes calmer. The future stops feeling like a constant threat. What makes this even more difficult psychologically is that money is rarely just about math. Most financial decisions are emotional before they are logical. People spend differently when they are tired. They spend differently when they feel insecure. They spend differently when they feel behind socially. And modern life creates enormous emotional fatigue. Long commutes, stressful jobs, constant notifications, social comparison everywhere. By the end of the day, many people are not making financial decisions from clarity. They are making them from exhaustion. That is why convenience became one of the biggest industries in the world. Tired people naturally prioritize relief over optimization. Ordering food feels easier than cooking. Impulse purchases feel emotionally rewarding after difficult days. Entertainment becomes escape from stress. This is not weakness. It is human behavior responding to pressure. And social media intensified this dramatically. Now people compare themselves with thousands of lifestyles every single week. Luxury vacations, expensive apartments, designer lifestyles. Even financially responsible people begin feeling emotionally behind. Without realizing it, that emotional gap quietly drives spending. Because people are not only buying products, often they are buying emotional reassurance. Reassurance that they are progressing. Reassurance that they belong socially. Reassurance that their hard work means something. But emotional spending rarely creates lasting peace. Usually it creates temporary relief, followed by long-term pressure. I think the real turning point begins when someone stops asking, "How do I look successful?" and starts asking, "What actually creates peace of mind?" That shift changes financial behavior completely. Because once peace becomes the goal, many decisions start looking different. People stop viewing restraint as punishment. They begin seeing it as flexibility. They stop assuming every lifestyle upgrade equals progress. They start protecting future freedom instead of performing success externally. And no, this does not mean living an extreme minimalist lifestyle or rejecting enjoyment completely. That usually becomes emotionally unsustainable anyway. Real stability often comes from balanced awareness. Someone may still enjoy travel, good food, or small luxuries, but they stop using spending as emotional identity maintenance. That difference matters deeply. One mindset constantly tries to impress strangers. The other quietly builds breathing room. And breathing room changes everything psychologically. A person with savings sleeps differently. A person with manageable debt thinks differently. A person with long-term investments experiences time differently. Because tomorrow no longer feels entirely dependent on the next paycheck. That kind of stability is quieter than social media wealth. But emotionally, it is far more valuable. The difficult truth is that escaping the middle class usually does not happen through one dramatic moment. It happens gradually, through awareness, through patience, through repeated small decisions. A person notices lifestyle inflation earlier. They reduce unnecessary pressure slowly. They build emergency savings quietly. They invest consistently even when progress feels invisible at first. Compound growth feels emotionally boring in the beginning because humans naturally value immediate rewards more than distant rewards. The future feels abstract. Present stress feels real. But over time, small repeated actions begin changing someone's emotional relationship with money. That is important because many people think wealth is mainly about luxury. I do not think that is true. I think most people simply want relief. Relief from financial anxiety. Relief from feeling behind. Relief from constant pressure sitting quietly in the background of life. And honestly, that desire is completely understandable. Modern life became expensive financially, but also emotionally. People are managing work stress, rising costs, time anxiety, family responsibilities, and constant comparison simultaneously. So if you feel overwhelmed sometimes, it does not mean you failed. It may simply mean you have been operating inside systems that reward consumption while making long-term stability harder to build. What gives me hope is that awareness changes behavior slowly over time. The moment someone becomes conscious of these patterns, they stop drifting unconsciously through financial life. They start asking better questions. Do I actually want this? Or am I trying to feel caught up? Is this purchase improving my life long-term or temporarily relieving stress? Am I building freedom or just maintaining expensive routines? Those questions matter more than people realize, because real financial progress often looks boring externally. It rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. But years later, The emotional difference can become enormous. Less anxiety, more flexibility, more control over time. That is real wealth, not necessarily flashy lifestyles, not endless luxury, but the ability to breathe without constant financial tension, controlling every decision. And ironically, many people who appear wealthy externally are still financially fragile internally because their entire lifestyle depends on continuous income to survive. Visible wealth and actual freedom are very different things. One performs success, the other creates peace. At the end of the day, I do not think most people truly want extreme wealth. I think they want stability. They want enough margin that unexpected problems stop feeling catastrophic. They want enough freedom to rest without guilt. They want enough clarity to stop feeling permanently behind. And if you are still figuring this out, you are not alone. Most people were never taught how psychology, consumption, stress, and identity quietly shape financial behavior. That awareness takes time. So do not measure your progress only by numbers. Sometimes progress looks like reduced anxiety. Sometimes progress looks like fewer impulsive decisions. Sometimes progress looks like finally questioning a lifestyle that no longer feels healthy. That matters too. You do not need perfect discipline. You do not need overnight success. You do not need to solve your entire future immediately. You just need to stop living completely on autopilot. Because sometimes the biggest financial breakthrough begins with a very quiet realization. Peace and status are not always the same thing. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. I hope this conversation helped you feel a little more understood, a little calmer, and a little more aware of how modern systems and psychology shape financial life. Take care of yourself, keep thinking long-term, and I will see you in the next topic. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support the channel and ensures you do not miss any upcoming content.